Major League Soccer began as a promise before it became a reality, and that promise came from the United States' commitment to host the 1994 FIFA World Cup. At that time, the country did not have a fully functioning top-tier professional soccer league. The old NASL had already collapsed a decade earlier, and while it left behind memorable moments and a brief spark of global glamour, it failed to build the foundation needed for long-term growth. The World Cup bid required something more concrete, an assurance that the sport would be given a genuine, stable home. MLS emerged from that requirement, but no one could have predicted how much work, experimentation and reinvention would be needed to turn it into a major American sports property. When the league finally launched in 1996, it entered the national sports market with a mix of ambition and uncertainty. There was genuine excitement, especially from the growing youth soccer scene, but there was also skepticism from traditional sports media and fans who saw soccer as an outsider sport. League organizers had to build everything from scratch, from team identities and stadium plans to a business structure that could withstand the financial storms that destroyed earlier leagues. Early MLS matches were played in large NFL stadiums with uneven crowds, and the league experimented with several Americanized rules, shootouts instead of draws, countdown clocks, and other adjustments that tried to align soccer with U.S. sports culture. While these changes grabbed attention, they also created tension with the global game. Over time, MLS realized that authenticity mattered, and it shifted toward the standard international format. The early years were marked by survival rather than success. Despite initial optimism, financial losses were severe, and by 2001 the league had contracted 2 teams, bringing its membership down to 10. At that moment, MLS faced the real possibility of folding. Only a small group of committed investors kept it alive. Their persistence proved decisive. Instead of retreating, they reorganized the league to pursue long-term stability. Single-entity ownership, where the league held player contracts rather than individual clubs, helped control costs and allowed teams to avoid reckless spending. This system was criticized by some as restrictive, but it protected MLS from the instability that often damages new leagues. A major turning point came with the development of soccer-specific stadiums. In the early years, MLS teams played in cavernous NFL venues that created weak atmospheres and limited revenue opportunities. The construction of new, mid-sized stadiums designed specifically for soccer changed everything. They offered better viewing experiences, stronger fan cultures and new revenue streams from events, naming rights and matchday operations. Columbus Crew Stadium, opened in 1999, became the model for future projects. Over the next decade, stadium development spread across league. The next phase of MLS growth centered on deliberate expansion and stronger market positioning. After surviving the difficult years of contraction, the league shifted toward strategic investment, using expansion as a tool to enter regions with high soccer potential, strong corporate support and eager fan bases. Expansion fees, once modest, began rising steadily, reflecting growing belief in the league's future value. Markets like Toronto, Seattle, Portland and Atlanta became powerful examples of how the right city, ownership group and stadium plan could reshape a club's fortunes before the first match was even played. In each case, anticipation built rapidly, season ticket demand surged and media interest grew. Ownership groups started competing for a limited number of league slots, and MLS gained leverage it never had in its early years. These expansion clubs transformed the league's cultural landscape. Toronto FC, the first Canadian-based team in MLS, brought massive energy from day one. Their supporters, known for their passion and unity, created one of the most vibrant atmospheres in North American sports. Seattle Sounders took that foundation and elevated it even further. Their arrival in 2009 marked one of the most successful expansion launches in American sports history. The club drew huge crowds, often surpassing attendance figures of long-established NFL and MLB teams. Most importantly, Seattle demonstrated that American soccer fans wanted more than just entertainment, they wanted identity, pride, and a shared emotional experience around their city's team. Portland and Vancouver continued this trend. The Pacific Northwest became a powerhouse region for MLS, with fierce rivalries and exceptional fan culture. Portland Timbers supporters created an environment that delivered a strong statement about the league's place in American sports. The organic traditions, timber slicing after goals, chants that rolled through the stadium, tifos crafted by supporters, helped elevate the authenticity of MLS. At a time when critics still viewed soccer as forced or artificially imported, these crowds showed that passion for the sport could grow naturally in American soil. Atlanta United's entry into MLS represented the moment when everything changed on a national scale. Atlanta is a city known for its love of college football, basketball, and cultural entertainment industries. Many believed soccer would struggle there. Instead, Atlanta United shattered expectations. The team regularly drew more than 50,000 fans per match, filling Mercedes-Benz Stadium with noise and enthusiasm rarely seen in American soccer. The club set attendance records comparable to major European teams, signaling that MLS was becoming a mainstream attraction in large U.S. markets. Atlanta's ownership group also invested heavily in facilities, coaching and scouting, proving that spending and ambition could drive immediate success. They won the MLS Cup in 2018, only 2 years after joining. The momentum that MLS carried into its modern era created an environment where the league could begin setting long-term ambitions that once felt unrealistic. One of the most transformative developments came from a shift in how the league approached international recognition. For many years, MLS existed primarily as a domestic competition with modest global attention. The arrival of well-known players had brought visibility, but true legitimacy required something deeper: sustained sporting quality, competitive teams in continental tournaments, and strong relationships with global football institutions. Over time, MLS began making progress on all of these fronts. Clubs invested heavily in training methodologies that aligned with global standards, and many teams built networks that extended into South America, Europe, Africa, and Asia. As scouting improved, recruitment became more efficient and diverse, allowing MLS to sign players who fit tactical systems rather than relying on star power alone. International tournaments became important milestones. MLS teams competing in the CONCACAF Champions League slowly improved their performances, moving from early exits to appearances in semi-finals and finals. When Seattle Sounders finally won the tournament in 2022, it represented a symbolic breakthrough. It was the first time an MLS team had defeated top Liga MX opponents to win the regional championship in the modern era. That victory resonated across North America and delivered a message that MLS was no longer an underdog but a serious competitor. The accomplishment validated decades of investment in infrastructure, player development, and coaching. It also sparked debates about how much further MLS could climb in the global hierarchy. As the league expanded, its business model matured. Valuations for MLS clubs began rising sharply. What once cost around $10 million for early investors grew into expansion fees surpassing $300 million. These valuations reflected not just current performance but future expectations. Corporate sponsorships reached new levels, stadiums generated more revenue, and media rights deals expanded. The league's partnership with global companies brought additional financing for community programs, events, and youth development. While MLS still operated under financial regulations designed to ensure stability, clubs found creative and sustainable ways to grow. A defining feature of this modern era was the arrival of global superstars who came not merely for retirement but to participate in competitive environments. While early star signings were often nearing the end of their careers, MLS began attracting younger or still elite talent. The presence of world-class players elevated the technical quality, attracted global audiences, and accelerated the league's reputation. But beyond individual stars, MLS evolved into a destination for talented young players seeking a platform. Many prospects from Argentina, Brazil, Colombia, Ecuador,